Hello, my name is Ashton, and in this episode, I will teach you about the various sensing blocks in Scratch. These blocks mostly consist of variables and booleans. If you don't remember, variables are numbers and text that can be stored and used in other places, shown as these rectangles with rounded edges, while booleans are true-false values that can be used to determine if and when certain code should run, shown as these long hexagons. Sensing variables and booleans tend to get their values by pulling from or sensing parts of the game. The key pressed block is likely one of the most common booleans you will use. When run, it will check to see if the selected key, which can be any on the keyboard, is pressed, and will pass true if it is. If I press space here and then click it, it will say it's true. It can be used for keyboard control and is almost always necessary when making a game on Scratch. The touching block senses if the sprite the code is attached to, in this case the cat, is touching something else. This something else can be your mouse, the edge of the screen, or any objects you might have in your game. So if I switch this to apple, and then move the cat to be touching the apple, and then click it, it will return true. This can be used for collision with other blocks, or checking if sprites have hit certain other sprites while moving. The touching color block senses if the sprite is touching the selected color. If any pixel of the sprite touches the color from another sprite or the background, then it will return true. So if I were to grab the cat up here and put it down on top of the blue line, then when I click touching color, it will return true. This can be used similarly to the touching block, however, it grants the additional bonus of allowing it to be checked with multiple sprites, as well as only activate when touching certain parts or sides of sprites. The color touching color block is similar to the previous one. It checks if the sprite is touching the second color, this one here, but only returns true if the part of the sprite touching it is the first color, this one right here. Currently, the cat is touching the blue line right here, which is this color, but it returns false because none of the part of the cat that's touching it is white. But if we were to move the cat down so that its belly and tail were touching it, then the boolean will return true because the parts of the cat that are white are now touching the blue line. The distance to block will tell you the distance from the current sprite to whatever is selected. This can be the mouse pointer or another sprite in your game. This allows the distance between two objects to be easily obtained without using difficult or complex equations that we haven't quite gone to yet. So if I'm to click it right now, then we'll display the distance to the apple from the sprite. Mouse X and mouse Y say the X and Y location of the mouse pointer for your game to use. For example, if I click mouse Y, it will say about what my mouse's Y value is on here. If your mouse is outside of the box and can't be displayed accurately, then it will simply display the maximum value it can, which for mouse X currently is -240. You can use it to have an object follow your mouse or attempt to avoid it, or for any other purposes you might want to use the mouse X and Y for. Mouse down checks to see if you're clicking the left mouse button when it's run. I can't show it as well here because it counts as false because you need to unclick the mouse in order to run it. So let me just drag it into here quickly. If I click this and then press, it will state that I am indeed pressing the mouse button. It's a great way to add mouse controls to your game, especially if combined with the previous mouse X and mouse Y blocks. The timer variable allows you to keep track of time during your game. If you run the timer button, it will say how many seconds have passed since the program started running. It can be reset either by running the program again, as so, or by using the reset timer block, as so. It could be used to keep track of how much time you have left in a level or decide to run a special event. This of variable arguably has the most uses out of all the variables here. You're able to select any object in your game, including the background, and get whatever value of that object that you want. For example, I can get the stage's current backdrop name, the apple's exposition, the volume of either the apple or the backdrop, or any other variables contained in any objects you may have. The remaining blocks are less commonly used, but I will still go over them here. The ask and wait block makes the sprite say whatever is inputted into it and takes an answer from the user. So if I click here, it'll ask what my name is. I'll just put in my name and then hit the check mark. And whatever you input will be stored inside the answer variable right here. From here, it can be used for whatever else you'd like to use it for. Set drag mode controls whether or not the user is able to drag the sprite while the program is running. By default, sprites cannot be dragged, so if you want a user to be able to move around the sprite, you'll need to run this block first. Sadly, I can't show it off here because while editing a program, sprites are always movable even when the program is running. If you want the sprite to be undraggable again, simply select Not Draggable and click the block again. Or run it if it's in the code, obviously. Loudness detects how loud you are, outputting a higher value when you are louder and a lower value when you are quieter. It requires the user to have a microphone to work. Sadly, I am unable to showcase it here, as doing so prevents me from recording my voice due to how my microphone works. The current time block states whatever time is selected. For example, if year is selected, then it will display what the current year is. It can also state the month, day of the month, day of the week, and even the hour, minute, and even second. Days since 2000 states how many days it has been since the year 2000. It doesn't round to the nearest day, so if you're at midday, like I'm about to, it will display a decimal, with the amount of a day that has passed being included as all the information after the decimal. Currently, it is 8,068 days and about 8% of a day, or well, 9% actually, since 2000. Username simply states the user's username when run. For example, my username is Tank Programming, and if I click username, it will say Tank Programming. With that, you now know about how all the various sensing blocks work in Scratch. Thank you for watching.